Have you ever ignored a warning from someone who loved you? What if that one choice put you in a terrible danger? Today's story is about a little girl who forgot her mother's advice and met someone who was not what he seemed. This is the tale of Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there lived a sweet little girl who was loved by everyone who knew her. Her grandmother had made her a beautiful red cloak with a hood, and she wore it so often that everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One sunny morning, her mother packed a basket with fresh bread, butter, and sweet cakes. "Your grandmother is feeling ill," she said. "Please take this to her. She lives in the cottage at the end of the forest path." Then her mother looked at her seriously and said, "Listen carefully. Stay on the path through the woods. Don't stop for anything, and most importantly, don't talk to strangers." Little Red Riding Hood promised she would obey. Little Red Riding Hood set off through the forest, swinging her basket happily. The sun shone through the tall trees, birds sang beautiful songs, and butterflies danced around the wildflowers. The path was clear and easy to follow. "What a beautiful day," she thought, skipping along. "Grandmother will be so happy to see me." She felt safe and cheerful, humming a little tune as she walked deeper into the woods. But Little Red Riding Hood didn't know that someone was watching her from the shadows. Suddenly, a large wolf stepped out from behind a tree. Little Red Riding Hood stopped in surprise. "Good morning, little girl," said the wolf with a sly smile. "What a lovely red cape you're wearing. Where are you going on this fine day?" Little Red Riding Hood forgot all about her mother's warning. "Good morning," she said politely. "I'm going to visit my grandmother. She lives in the cottage at the end of the forest path. She's not feeling well, so I'm bringing her this basket of foods." The wolf's eyes gleamed with a hungry, cunning idea. "How sweet of you," he said. "And where exactly is the cottage?" "Just follow this path straight through the forest." Red Riding Hood answered innocently. "It's the little house with the red door." The wolf smiled wider, showing his teeth. Oh, he had a very clever plan indeed. The wolf spoke in his most friendly voice. "What a kind granddaughter you are. You know, I just noticed something. Look at those beautiful flowers over there. Wouldn't your grandmother love a fresh bouquet? They would surely make her feel better." Little Red Riding Hood looked where the wolf was pointing. Off the path she saw the most gorgeous wildflowers, red, yellow, purple, and white. "Oh, what a wonderful idea!" she exclaimed. "Grandmother does love flowers." And so, forgetting her mother's second advice, Little Red Riding Hood left the safe path and wandered through the woods to pick flowers. The moment she was distracted, the wolf grinned wickedly. While she bent down to gather flowers, he turned and raced through the forest towards her grandmother's house, running as fast as his legs could carry him. The wolf arrived at grandmother's little cottage, knocked on the door with his paw. Tap, tap, tap. From inside, a weak, elderly voice called out, "Who is it?" The wolf disguised his rough voice to sound sweet and high. "It's me, grandmother, your granddaughter. I brought you some food." "Oh, how lovely," said grandmother. "The door is unlocked, dear. Come right in." The wolf pushed open the door, his eyes glinting with mischief. He stepped inside and quietly closed the door behind him. The wolf burst into grandmother's bedroom. The poor old woman gasped in fright. "A wolf!" she cried. But the clever wolf didn't want to waste time. He needed to prepare for the granddaughter. Quickly, he grabbed the grandmother, who was shouting for help, and locked her safely in the closet. Now, you just stay quiet there," he said, turning the key. Then he spotted grandmother's nightgown and nightcap hanging nearby. A wicked grin spread across his face. He put on the nightgown and nightcap, climbed into grandmother's bed, and pulled the covers up to his chin. "Perfect," he whispered. "Now I'll wait for the little girl." Meanwhile, Little Red Riding Hood had picked a beautiful bouquet of flowers. She suddenly remembered she was supposed to go straight to grandmother's house. "Oh my, I hope I'm not too late, she worried, hurrying back to the path. Finally, she arrived at the little cottage with the red door. She knocked gently. "Grandmother, it's me." "Come in, dear," called a strange, rough voice. Little Red Riding Hood frowned. Something sounded odd. She pushed open the door and stepped inside, carrying her basket in one hand and flowers in the other. She walked slowly to the bedroom. There in the bed, with covers pulled up high, was, well, it looked like Grandmother, but something seemed wrong. "Grandmother?" she asked hesitantly. "You sound different. Are you feeling worse?" Little Red Riding Hood stepped closer to the bed, looking carefully at her grandmother. The person in the bed looked strange, very strange. "Grandmother," she said slowly, "what big ears you have." The wolf pulled the nightcap down a bit and replied in a high voice, "All the better to hear you with, my dear." Little Red Riding Hood took another step closer. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have." The wolf opened his eyes wide and stared at her. "All the better to see you with, my dear." Now Little Red Riding Hood was right beside the bed, and her heart began to beat faster. Something was definitely wrong. "Grandmother," she whispered, her voice shaking, "what big teeth you have." Suddenly the wolf threw off the covers and leaped from the bed. "All the better to eat you with," he roared. Little Red Riding Hood screamed. Just as the wolf lunged towards Little Red Riding Hood, the cottage door burst open with a crash. A brave woodcutter who had been working nearby heard the scream and came running. He rushed in with his large axe raised high. "Get away from her!" he shouted in a powerful voice. The wolf froze, terrified. Faced with a strong man and his axe, the wolf knew he was defeated. With a yelp of fear, he leaped through the window, smash, and ran away into the forest as fast as he could, never to be seen again. Little Red Riding Hood was shaking with fear. Then they heard a muffled voice. "Help! Let me out!" It was coming from the closet. The woodcutter opened the closet door and came out Grandmother, frightened but safe. She rushed to hug her granddaughter tightly. Grandmother, Little Red Riding Hood, and the kind woodcutter sat together, sharing the food from the basket. They were so grateful to be safe. Little Red Riding Hood had tears in her eyes. "Oh, Grandmother, I'm so sorry. Mother told me not to talk to strangers and to stay on the path. But I didn't listen. I put us both in terrible danger." Grandmother hugged her close. "You've learned a very important lesson today, my dear. Your mother's warning weren't meant to spoil your fun. They were meant to keep you safe. The world can be dangerous, and there are people who are not what they seem." Little Red Riding Hood nodded seriously. "I promise I will always listen from now on, and I'll never, ever talk to strangers again." And she never did. And so, dear friends, what can we learn from Little Red Riding Hood's frightening adventure? First, always listen to your parents and the people who love you. They give warnings because they want to protect you, not because they want to limit your fun. Second, never talk to strangers. Not everyone who seems friendly actually is friendly. Some people hide their true intentions. Third, stay on the safe path. When you're told to do something a certain way, there's usually a very good reason. And finally, your choices have consequences. One small decision, talking to the wolf, leaving the path, put Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother in terrible danger. Remember, listen to those who love you. Be cautious with strangers, and always think before you act. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay on the path. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more tales every week. See you in the next trail.